We are live, everybody. Welcome. It's Tuesday. What are we learning today? Somebody suggested to me because yesterday I had mentioned the laws, and some say, well, I have a favorite one or I have a go to. Let's go over this again. There is but one law, right? That we are aware of right here, right this instant. Mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, causation, gender. And if one of those is your favorite, you have done them all, right? Because remember the word fractal or the oracle of the ear. You can treat the whole body using a part of the body because a part of the body is the whole body, is it not? Is your toe, where's your toe? Down there on your foot, but is the foot not the whole body? The foot is not just sitting over. This is not a crime scene. And even if you see it over there, it's part of the whole body. So because you have 7 options, it doesn't mean that you're just doing one of them. You're doing all of them. For instance, some people still struggle with gender. Masculine is to project outward. What are you projecting outward? The image that you hold in your mind. How do you know you're projecting it outward? Well, be an artist. You see something in your mind's eye. And Flo Smiles is decorating a cake. That image is in the mind of either of her or someone else, but they sent her a sketch, they sent her a drawing, or she drew it. She projected it from her brain onto the paper, onto the cake. That is gender. The paper now became the womb so that she could recreate it onto the cake. That is gender. Project, you get an experience back. But in order to get that experience back, it is projected somewhere. Put this in your thoughts for a moment. You might not be able to see it, but it is there. I know it looks like, oh, outside is clear blue sky, but it is a womb that you don't see. You can't see it. It's there, though. Some people call it the ether, atmosphere, whatever you want to call it. It is something that holds a projection. It is a womb. Something is implanted within it. The Akashic records, I dare say. What do you think that is? It holds information that can be retrieved. It is a womb. So if you say, yeah, well, I like the law of gender, then I can use that. But look at what happens. Something is going to cause you to project something outward. You've just used causation. But you have a particular way of doing something, a rhythm. How do you get to rhythm? Well, you've got to be polarized in a particular direction. And in order to move yourself from where you are to where you need to be, the vibration is going to change. It's either going to speed up or slow down to get you to be polarized. And that vibration, well, it's going to correspond to what? An image in your mind. You've just used all 7 principles by using one. That's why you want to make a change. For instance, you say, oh, my sleep schedule is off, my sleep rhythm is off. What you have to you've disrupted the rhythm to get it to be off in the first place, meaning you were polarized somewhere else. So what do you have to do to get the rhythm back? You have to disrupt it again by repolarizing yourself and doing something different, creating a new rhythm or resorting back to the old natural rhythm. Right? It is, you use one of them, you're using all of them. This makes sense because it is The law is meant for ease of use. And you'll notice something happens to you the more you use the law. You become more disciplined. But how and where? Your outlook, your behavior. There's a purpose. It has a trajectory that it is on. So when you follow the law consciously, you can change. But if you unconsciously follow the law, you do things that bring yourself distress. That's why people will ask you, what are you saying? You saying I did this to myself? You're saying I chose these things to happen to me? Not on purpose. You didn't choose it on purpose. It's just called you were unaware. That's why the law always encourages one to be aware of what they're doing. When you are aware of what you're doing, you can consciously make a change. Right? That's the whole point. You see, we only see part of the picture. This is why, if you notice, let me find the right words here. If you notice, if you don't know what the image, if you're kind of shaky on the image of what you want, but you have an idea, you're like, I need more discipline. Okay, where? Where? Where in your life are you requiring more discipline? Oh, that thing? So what is discipline? A way of doing something, right? And usually that way of doing something brings you peace of mind. So yes, we are using these principles to live our life consciously, right? But it does something to us. It changes us. The law causes change to happen because change, we're created beings. So change is inevitable. Everything is changing. It is always in a state of generation. Creation is always happening. I know Neville Goddard says creation is done, but generation, meaning you're projecting, you get it back. You're always generating a new idea, something new. You're always, because you're expanding. Pardon me. So the more you do that, you will notice you become disciplined. But what if you want to start with discipline? You're starting with the desired effect. You want to be more disciplined. And as soon as you decide where you want to be more disciplined, now you have generated your cause. So now you will act. And the thing you do over and over, you will develop your discipline for it. You'll develop that because you're doing something. So now you're developing a rhythm the more you do a particular thing. So it doesn't matter which of those which principle you're going to choose, it doesn't matter which principle you're going to choose. You're going to change either way. You will find that your attitude is different. The way you speak to people is different. The way you interact with people is different. The choices you make, you will find that the edge is gone. You're not arguing so much anymore. You are going to find that you are changing. Allow that change. Don't fight that change. Think about it. If you go from being a contentious person to being one who's at ease, then is that not a good thing? Oh, but then you don't stand for anything. That's a question, isn't it? This is why the Buddhists, they would tell you, you just, whatever's happening, allow it to happen, because it is happening by way of law. It's been set in motion by a cause, and there's going to be an effect. Where one now will say, oh, you know what? This is why Thoth says you not defend the truth, but you acknowledge it. If somebody is speaking a blatant lie, you're like, wait, what? No. Hmm? Not because you're trying to reprimand them or whatever the case may be, but if you look around you, you will find that there's already so much deception. This is why I read so much. So when you don't hear me all the time, I am reading and seeking more knowledge or a better way of understanding something, so that I try and keep myself where, is that true? Because he'll tell you in the KYBALION, everything is but a half truth. But the law is sure. The law is truth. Right? So when you're choosing a law because of your personality, of your perceptions, the way you view the world, you're going to choose one of those things that best matches you. But it doesn't mean that you're neglecting the others. You are already doing the others, but it's just that this one resonates more because of your personality. This is why it is helpful to know one's self. When you know yourself, you'll find your choices, the kinds of things that you do, are based upon who you say you are. So your actions have to line up, right? So if you get to know who you are, well, when you get to know who you are, what did you learn? Where did it come from? What kinds of questions are you asking? Are you trusting that still small voice within yourself? Or are you fearful and cowering in the corner? Like, what are you? Who are you? What is your behavior? And as I mentioned before, thought, word, action is one motion. But again, you can go backwards. Action will cause you to speak. And now there's that image in your mind, where people are trying to understand, comprehend a better way of doing things. And I was reading when Thoth is talking to Tat, his son, and he says, just be cautious of saying things in a different way, not as an example, but words have a vibration to them. And there's a reason why words are constantly being manipulated. And you'll notice now, because a lot of people want to understand how to consciously create something, right? If you go, because Dr. Joe Dispenza will say to you, well, get the feeling. Well, what does getting the feeling do to your body? It'll bring up an image in your brain. But then that image and that feeling will cause you to act. So some people are struggling with the fact, what do you mean act as if? Somebody said to me, no, not to me directly, but in the forum. So if I want to be a mother and I don't have kids, I have to go out there and buy diapers. I'm like, okay, are you listening to yourself? Why would you purchase diapers? Purchasing diapers doesn't mean you're a mother. What does a mother behave like? She's gentle. Well, at least most most of the time, when you haven't plucked her last nerve and she doesn't holler, right? A mother, because if you think about it, what kind of inner conversation are you having? That's the way you're going to speak to your child. So you see, the inner conversation has to change. You become softer in your approach. You listen more because you're seeking to understand what the child is saying. So that's what you become. You get the attitude and the behaviors of a mother. The image inside your imagination is mother. That is the image that you are projecting outward. She prepares things. She listens. She's kind. She's thoughtful. You're going to wait till you become a mother, till you hold your baby, to change your inner conversations? So you see, It is a backwards and forwards motion. If you do one thing over here, you're going to have that effect over there, if that makes sense to you. So no, you don't have to go buy diapers. Another person says, well, what if I'm a cashier? That's my job, but I want to be a business bank mogul. I'm like, you think a business bank mogul, then that person they encounter, how are they going to speak to them? What's their behavior going to be like? What's their attitude? What's their frame of mind? What have they learned? What have they experienced? Because you can look at them and you know that they can walk into a room and speak to just about anybody. They always make eye contact, but you want to be a cashier and you don't even speak to the person you're scanning their groceries. You don't make them feel welcome there. You don't encourage them to come back with your behavior. How will you regenerate business as a banking mogul when you don't know how to speak to people? So even though the image in your mind is bank mogul, if that's the image in your mind, how does that person behave? But what causes them to behave that way? The way they see themselves, the way they speak to themselves. All of that is inside in the imagination. It is invisible. We can't see it because we don't know what your desire is. But think about it. If you begin by changing your behavior, your words will change. And when your words change, you begin to solidify that image in your mind. Are you not in your imagination? Are you not there? But then people say, but that's so contrary to what Neville says. I'm like, you keep looking at what Neville says, but you don't dig beyond to understand what Neville knew. Right? So you've got to be able to, it doesn't matter which one you choose. You want to start with the behavior, as above, so below, correspondence. It is how you begin to build your confidence. It is an exercise. As the scripture says, when you pray, believe that you have received. Well, how would you believe it? By way of law. The law tells you the image in your mind will cause you to speak and cause you to act. This is the law of correspondence. So if you know that you're holding that image, it doesn't matter what kind of a delay you get on the outside. You're not wavered by delay. Pardon me. You're not wavered by supposed loss or disappointment. You're not attached to any of those things. Your focus is correspondence. Correspondence says that image in my mind, I'm speaking to myself differently. I'm behaving differently. It is inevitable that the thing on the outside, you have to show what the inner conversation is. How else would you know? Remember that story when Neville was working with the young woman whose boss just kept berating everything she did. And Neville was like, yeah, but aren't you arguing with him in your mind all the time? And she's like, oh my God, like totally, yeah. And Neville's like, well, stop arguing in your mind. What do you want your boss to say to you? Oh, you want him to congratulate you on your good work all the time? Then hear it. She changed her inner conversation. She changed her inner conversation. But I'll tell you something. That inner conversation caused her whole body posture to change. How can I be so sure when I wasn't there? Because if you argue in your mind, you're going to have a particular posture. We keep thinking that these things are secrets, right? Nobody can hear you. But your body is hearing. And thus you begin to get in, you catch a mood. And the body either tenses or it relaxes depending on that inner conversation in your mind. And however that body feels is the way you're going to act, because it is the law of correspondence. So you have to have faith in what you know. What is it that you know? You know that if you plant corn, you have to reap corn. So if your inner conversation is one of strife, then you know your body is going to have the posture of strife. And the posture of strife, them is fighting words. Because you're going to walk out there and it's either you're going to be stomping like a herd of elephants, or, and they don't stomp, do they? No. It's either you're going to be shoulders up and you're just, oh, and your face and yeah. And all you did was do the law of correspondence, but the vibration has to change depending on the inner conversation. And wherever that inner conversation is polarized, well, that's going to create that rhythm that you always go back there all the time, the thing you're always doing, which will cause you to behave in a particular way based upon the projection that you're putting out. So it doesn't matter which law you're going to choose or which one you gravitate towards. You're doing all of them because it is one law. Just one. 7 principles, but one law. Let's take a moment, shall we? So welcome everyone into the space this morning. Who do we have? Nyanito? Nito, is that how I say your name? Yes, darling. Welcome to the space. And then we have, hey, Tiffany and Jeff, darling. It is so good to see you all here. It really is. Thank you for being here on just a glorious Tuesday morning. Fan base, who's here? Hello, my melanin. Miss McQueen, Summer Rose, Oracle Treehouse, Flo Smiles, KZ, Yolanda, Zola. It is brilliant to see you all here on such a lovely day. It really is. And Facebook, we got Indy. And on YouTube, we got today? Hello, Anot. I'm looking over the top of my glasses. Jeez, give him a strength. Anot is here. Cyber, Sugar Visions, my omnipresent darling, the better man. Hey, David. Oh, David, I had to read that in a minute. Cyber says, Ecclesiastes 1 verse 9, what has been, will be again. What has been done, will be done again. There's nothing new under the sun. But of course, every cause has its effect. Every effect its cause. You do this cause, you're guaranteed that effect. Cyber, all Neville meant by creation is finished, just that the many mansions are already built and ready to be occupied. Yes, exactly. And that's what I mean when I say a lot of people have been so deceived. David said to me, last night on Lance's show was my most powerful ever, in caps. The ever is in caps. I'm like, it was just Psalm 23, but it was just one of those things. It's this is the point I'm trying to make here. Good morning, Marjorie, my beautiful. There's so much going on. There's so much information coming from the left, coming from the right, above and below. There's so much. I've encountered one young lady. She was deceived once by multi-level marketing and life coaching and all that. So now she's a business coach because she has a business and she's learning how to run it. So she's teaching people what she does. And she says quantum is a whole bunch of hooey, manifestation is a bunch of hooey. And I'm like, but that's just because of her perspective, because of what has happened. And that is the problem. That's the problem. When you come at someone and you want to teach someone, you never drive them or corral them from a place of fear. It is ill-advised to plant fear into someone. Look at what fear does. And so When you are teaching someone, what do they have going on? You don't argue with people, but you listen to what they have to say. And I agree with a lot of what she says, because a lot of these coaches are out there and they're like, oh, you pay me this and blah blah blah, and I'm like, $1,500. What? But I always go back to, don't let a dollar make you a fool. You've got to be able. This is why when you use the law, you stop being so emotional. If you allow yourself to be emotional, I'm not saying be cold. We have senses in the body, right? Emotions. But watch them. If you allow yourself to be polarized, the room is divided. Trump, Biden, okay. Hillary, blah, blah, blah. If I say those names, depending on where you stand, you know what I'm talking about for being polarized. There's a problem with that. If you allow yourself to be polarized, you now make yourself vulnerable to be manipulated to act in not always a desirable way. This is why whatever is happening in the world now, as David Icke calls it, a totalitarian tiptoe, meaning lots of things are being slowly eroded, not hard and fast all at once. There's a reason. It's the law, you understand? If you cause the vibration, if you move it too hard and too fast to polarize somebody, you're going to meet with resistance. But if you sprinkle, and make people question themselves, that is why I tell you every day, get to know who you are. Why is that important? Because when you use the law to understand who you are, you will understand the conditioning that every human has received. And you'll begin to look at the thing. You begin to look at the thing. I want to tell you something. It's on the tip of my tongue to tell you, but for instance, they tell you don't do drugs. All you have to do is walk by somebody who's tweaking. You don't know what that is? Well, I just learned. It is the most unnatural thing I've ever seen. They're bent over from the waist. It's like a limp noodle. When you test the spaghetti on the fork and it just hangs on the fork? That's what they look like. I don't have to tell you that that's a bad thing. So no, I'm not going to go and try the drug just because, for shits and giggles. Ooh, I want to know what that feels like, which means I don't have to suffer to learn. Use the law and you can see it. If look, if I go out there and I hang out with this kind of group of people, ones who make bad decisions, that could be anybody. Well, you know what happens when you get out there and do dumb things. You now have to reap the repercussions of those dumb actions. Do you need to do the dumb actions to know? No, look at it. That's why if you learn the law, you can become strategic about your emotions. You will have something called righteous anger. I suppose you want to call it that. You'll be able to use that fire of the anger to bring about adequate change as opposed to destroying. What do I mean? Remember Rodney King? I don't think a country or a state has burnt as much as LA did. But do you not live there? Could there have been a better way of doing it? Maybe not. I don't live in LA. I can't tell you. But could there have been a more effective way to bring about change? That's what I'm trying to say to you. When you use the law, you will learn how to manage your emotions, and you will recognize that the purpose of the senses is to tell you, oh, look, hot and cold. That smells nice. Ooh, skunk. Right? That's what you will begin to notice. That you have more control over your behavior. We are not animals. I know people say the human animal, but that is not the case. We are not like animals. Oh no. We have the ability to think and we have the ability to speak. Animals do not. They are controlled by their nature. Humanity has the ability to override their nature. How do I mean? You learn how to be one way, you can learn how to be another. So when you use the law, it doesn't matter which one is your favorite. You're using them all. So if you say, you know what, I like vibration, well, then that probably means you're very tactile, you're very tuned into your body, you know what things feel like. And so you move according to vibration because you know you can change your vibration. But in order to change your vibration, you'll notice the thought had to change. So are you not using mentalism? Are you not using gender? The law is there to shed light upon a dark path so that you're not stumbling around. It is not there to restrict or constrict, but it's there to show you, hey, that's what it's doing. And here is the more beautiful thing. The further along you get, you'll begin to realize, because when I say the word God, that causes a whole nother response in the body, right? Oh, it sure does. You see what I'm talking about? But you got to understand the law came from somewhere. If you look at the law and practice it, you'll begin to understand yourself. You'll understand your own awareness. You'll understand, oh, so wherever this came from, this law, you had to have been reasoning. Think about that. They weren't, whatever it was where these laws came from, were not ruled by emotion. Don't have a body. Very clear cut. You think it, you project it outward. As above, so below. It's because it's moving all the time. And it moves between two poles. It's dual, left and right. But only one thing is moving. Then it gets a particular rhythm that you can start and stop. You know where it is. But that causes you to do something. And whatever it causes you to do, you're going to project it outward. Think about that. This is why you don't have to be jealous. So why you don't have to be envious of anybody. This is why you don't have to feel like you are inferior. If you create inferiority, then you have created superiority. So if you see yourself as inferior, then there's somebody superior to you. So get rid of that process. You're not inferior to anyone. You are unique, but you're not inferior. But if you have in your mind's eye, this person's better than me. What law are you using when you think this person's better than me? Yeah, mentalism. You're all in there. And as above, so below. That thought you've got running around with those inner conversations about your inferiority, your body behaves in kind, not just from a cellular level, but your mannerisms. So you want to change inferiority? You want to accept the fact that you're unique? Well, then look at your life. Where are you unique? Can you see it for yourself? That's what you begin by doing. Because when you start to see them, oh snap, I am unique. You need unique New York? Yes. Any kind of singing lessons, that's the first thing you got to learn to say. She sells seashells by the seashore. Oh God, I digress. But when you use those things, those skills, and you recognize, oh my goodness, I am unique. Well, then the chest comes up a little bit. Not like, I'm unique and you bow to me. No, it's a celebration of your uniqueness. Oh my God, I am unique. This is good. The body responds. So if you want to change it, start with either the action, the word, or the thought, because you're doing all three. Let me read here quickly. Hey, Walter. So Cyber says, do you mean quantum leaping? I've always thought that was a bunch of hooey as well, just because that's what the SP people claim happens. You shift into a new reality where your SP loves you. Let's talk about that for a moment. Shifting into a new reality. Where's the law? Shifting into a new reality. I heard Dr. Joe Dispenza say something that I thought was kind of cool. Your personality creates your personal reality. Where does that come from? It comes from within you. You are still the one who has to change your perspective of yourself. You have to change the way you see yourself. And yeah, because Cyber is mentioning, if you do anything with Neville Goddard, you know people are trying to get back a lost love or whatever. But in that community, you will realize a lot of people remain the same. They don't change their behavior. In order for you to be with the same person, you have to have the same mentality. But I refrain from those groups. I don't say anything because I don't need nobody coming for me. Not because I'm scared, but I don't like arguing. If you have this thing in your mind where you have to get them back without changing you, I can't talk you past that. You're going to have to come to that realization on your own. Right? And again, I try not to give an opinion. I try and give you the law, not an opinion. Because look at what happens. Look at where this non-faith issue comes. Do you know the law or do you not know the law? Right? If you read a lot of those things, you'll feel the undercurrent of desperation. So this is why most people, but yes, Marjorie, quantum leaping, is it not just changing states? Yes. People say, well, there's another you in another dimension. And I'm like, you know what? We can't even see ourselves in the other room right now. How about you take a minute and just learn the law? This is what I'm saying. You learn the law. Isn't jumping to a different dimension supposedly you die in this reality and wake up in a dimension where you have what you want? I always ask them where Neville said that. And then you hear, oh my God, my son makes this little cricket noise. Because I said something to him, and he just looked at me and he made the noise. I'm like, oh, you nutmeg. But yeah, that's what it is. What do you mean? What other reality? I'm not telling you, listen, as above, so below. There's life. You are life. There's life above you. There's life below you. Period. That's what I can tell you. That's what I can tell you. Anything after that would be speculation. And I don't play that. Oh, I don't remember that one, Marjorie, but you're probably, I got to go back and look. That Neville had a dream when he got trapped and he couldn't go back. He came back though when he thought of how his pillow felt. Ah, and he got back into his body. Yes, yes, I remember now. Yes. You always you always get that thing to anchor you. Hmm. Astral projection. See, that's what we're getting into. Um, but again, when you learn the law and you apply it, something happens to you where you say, ooh, tell me more. I'm so curious. What more can I learn? And something happens to you. A true desire to learn is met. What happens? What do we learn when the teacher is when the student is ready? The teacher appears. Uh, the teacher could be on the outside of you. The teacher could be on the inside of you. But either way, they show up because of your desire to learn. So when you're using the law and you're practicing it consciously, there's a curiosity that is aroused within you, and you want to learn more. And so then that's just what you start doing. You start learning, and all this knowledge starts pouring in, and you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So you're all there, man. That's what happens. But you start at the building blocks: mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, causation, and gender. We start by learning the laws. Yes, all things are possible. And that's the best part. You test your pan to see if it's ready so you can cook in it. You test the law to see what you are capable of. That's that's what you do. And it doesn't matter which one you want to use. It doesn't matter which one. You just pick the one that resonates with you more because that is your personality. But see where it comes down to? It comes down to you knowing you. Are you who you say you are? Or are you contradicting that at every turn? And how do you contradict who you say you are? You contradict it with your words and your behavior and your inner conversations. I don't know what your inner conversations are until I hang out with you. Because you'll tell me. Just like I'll tell you what my inner conversations are when I hang out with you. They must be made manifest. Because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Yes? That's why I say to you on a daily basis, learn the law. But Angela, what if I can't just sit still? I know what that's like. But I know myself. I can sit here and I can read. I'm reading one of David Icke's books right now. Actually, I'm reading 3 different books right now. Don't ask me why and how. I just am. Because I just am. And that's what you do. You can read. Some people say, well, I don't like reading. There's no shame in not liking reading, you know? Then there's an audiobook for that, I'm sure. And if there isn't, holla at your girl. I'll record it. It's just one of those things. What do you prefer? Like, what is your preference? That's where you start. And you'll find that you're intrigued now, and you might even get inspired. Oh, look, there's a book. Let me pick that one up. And next thing you know, you just read the book from cover to cover for somebody who doesn't like reading. That's my point. You must know who you are. If you don't know who you are, well, we know how that turns out. Somebody comes along and tells you who you should be, and they don't come along and tell you who you should be so that you can be better for yourself. Nah. They come along and tell you who they think you are so you can benefit them. Well, how can I say such a thing? Look around you. You think humanity got the way they did because they remembered the law? No. Humanity got the way they are because they forgot the law. But the beautiful part is you remember and you practice, you change your surroundings, and the people around you will change. Right? So just pick your favorite one, because it's your favorite one for a reason. That's because you like it. Queen Marat, hey darling. So does that make sense to you today, that you have the capacity for such greatness? And this is what I was going to tell you that I didn't mention earlier. You begin to ask yourself the question, so this all, this all, what, where do they fit in? Where do I fit in with them? The all, for lack of a better word, when I say the all, I'm not referring to the little g in the Bible. Because if you read through the scripture, you will hear these are the words written there. God is a jealous God. Ask yourself a question. You have the ability to create, and you know that you are greater than anything that you create, because without you, there is no created thing. You're going to be jealous of a created thing. You're going to destroy a created thing because it angers you. Hmm. Sounds like human behavior to me, but speculation. But why would I speculate there? Because look at the law. The law tells you there's an image in your mind, and that image in your mind, because you got a body, is going to make you feel a particular way. That's why you want to say that we live in a dual world, because you have a body. But again, there's only one, right? The one inside the body, but it appears like two. And that's what the law says. You got this image in your mind, it makes your body feel a particular way, and it feels a particular way, and you start being polarized in a particular way. And next thing you know, you got this pattern of behavior that you do, and it's going to cause you to do something, and you project that thing out. What do you want that thing to be? So if the law encourages you to not be jealous of somebody else because you all have the same potential, why then would quote unquote little g be angered if you choose to praise him or not? But here's the beauty of the law. When you use the law and you recognize the change that happens within you, as I told them last night, there's something that erupts out of your chest and you say, oh, thank you. It is a praise, genuine praise for the all that says, thank you for being who you are, because now I see who I am. Thank you that I have the capacity to change and to pull myself up by using what you gave me, by using you that you gave me, that I don't have to suffer. Thank you for that. There's nothing fake and contrived about that kind of praise and thank you and gratitude. Nothing. It comes from a most sincere place because you've noticed something. You're not coerced to do it out of fear. Notice the difference. Fear is vile. Okay, I'm yelling. Let me rein that in. Fear is vile. And it causes you to contort yourself and behave in a most reprehensible way. That's why the law has no fear in it. It does not come from a place of fear. Where does it come from then? If it's not coming from a place of fear, well, then that's why people say fear and love are the same. for polarity. No, courage and fear. But it comes from a place that is so pure. It's pure. That's all I can say about it. I don't have words. But when you begin to recognize that when you use the law and you stop your suffering that is unnecessary, you don't have to hold on to a relationship. Whew, glass house. You don't have to fight and struggle and claw your way. No. The law tells you, what is the image? Oh, that's what you're creating? Well, as a creator, you must show the thing in your mind. You're going to have to see it in your, because you're in a 3D place, you're going to have to see it there. And what do? You walk through the world with confidence, knowing that you put it outside of yourself. You projected it from inside to the outside. And you didn't have to say, oh, I'm hoping for the best. Me dance naked in the moonlight. No. And when you come to the realization that you put it there, and that if you don't like it, you can remove it and remake it into something else, revision. When you recognize that, then that's what compels you to say, thank you. Thank you. And then when you say, oh God, thank you so much for that, you know you're talking about the all. But it's just that God is the first word because we learned that word and it's just easier to use. But then it comes from a pure place within you. And that's what gratitude is. Anywho, that is your word for today. Choose the law that stands out to you the most because that is based on your personality and your perspective. And when you use one, you have used them all. Indeed, you have. That truly is the beauty of what we've been given. Marjorie's saying to me here, revision is the most powerful tool for those shifts quickly. And she's, girl, Marjorie, I called your name last night when we were talking on Lance. See what she said here? She goes, it's tested by me. And that's why I tell you, you can't tell Marjorie that she does not know what she knows. You know why you can't tell her? Because it's tried, tested, and true. Marjorie did it. She put her foot down and she says, I'm not taking no for an answer. And she modified her perspective. She changed her inner conversations. She revised. I'm not saying the rest of you don't, but I know Miss Marjorie because, well, we talk. And normally I don't call anybody's names about situations, but I can tell you based upon what she said to me in conversation. I'm not going to tell you the conversations, but she's tested it. So she knows what she's talking about. Right? She practices. So that's why the encouragement is to practice or test it. Right? Tiffany says, what an eye opener. Well, oh, yes, Queen Marat. Woo woo. Because I don't know if you remember Queen Marat. She's finally moved now. Her and her babies, her sweet girls, they've got their own place now. Hoot hoot. Right? See, look, you got to apply the law and things. And I see what you're saying here now. Cyber says, I can't fathom someone having the ability to shift realities when they don't even feel powerful enough to fix the current one. But here's Marjorie. Marjorie says, Cyber, there's nothing to fix. We can just decide and it's done. She said, as any island woman will tell you, the law don't play. Right? This is so now Cyber is asking Marjorie, has your story been in one of the testimony streams? I don't think I've heard it. I have nothing to say. Nothing to say at all. But that's the thing I'm trying to convey to you this morning. When you have a favorite law, you whip that law out and you use it because why? You've tested it. And you said, this, I know the law. What do you have now? What are you exercising when you test it? Your faith. Because what is faith? You're doing what you know. Because you know it works. So you have faith in it. Because you know that it works. You know that it works. So you use it every time. And you end up now building your confidence, your self-esteem. Because as I said, like with Marjorie, ain't nobody can come along and tell Marjorie, but that doesn't work. She has many examples of where she's done it. So she can say, I've done it here, 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 here. As I'm sure you have your own examples. I've got my own. Right? No, I don't always share mine. Because it's not that I don't want to share. There's a reason I let y'all do the sharing. Simply because if you, I mean, it's a stance that I've taken based upon what I've seen going on in the world. Then people, they give you their story. I know I've had somebody say to me, Angela, your story is so powerful. You have to share it. And I say, no. I'm not here to influence you with my story. I'm here to influence you with the law so you can see it for your own self and curate your own story. Because if you pay attention, you'll see that is why so many people are easily deceived. Somebody will come along and tell them a real good story. And now you've been polarized, and then, somebody's absconded with your stuff, with your money, because you want to have their same story. No two people are going to have the same story. Well, success, yes, but it's not important for me to tell you my life story. There's certain things that are relevant, like things my grandfather has taught me. I'll share them with you. Or things I've been through, like one particular thing I've shared. But to influence you, I share the law. And you should be curious enough to want to try it out for yourself. Because the law is not far-fetched. The law works in your garden. The law works in your car. The law works in your house. The law works when you breathe. The law works if you don't breathe. And all I do is show you where the law is so that you can begin to recognize the law around you. And then, because when you recognize the law around you, you can begin to counter something that you deem, harmful. Neville calls it revising. But you can counter, you can use one law against the other. You can't break the law. They're not breakable, but you can use one. If you don't like the particular rhythm, well, then you have to change the polarity. What? Well, of course. It's moving in a particular way, in a particular fashion that is predictable. So to disrupt the predictability, you have to move. You have to change the polarity, change the direction. Always the higher against on the threshold where it is. So it doesn't matter which one you're going to choose. Mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, causation, gender. It doesn't matter. Pick the one that moves you. Queen Marat says yes. It works in every part of your life. But of course, and again, she would know. I talked to her. She would know. MC. And yes, exactly. There's always going to be a place for testimonies. I find that testimonies, there's a difference between testimony and, you know, somebody telling you the story, right? Yes. The law will even make you listen to people's stories. Well, but that depends on the person, right? That depends on the person. If people, because some people like to just listen, but they never apply. This is why the scripture, be a doer of the word, not just a hearer, right? So, yeah, you hear all 7 of the principles. Well, start to practice them. Just pick the one that jumps out at you that says, hey, the one that calls your name, and start to use it. And remember that it goes backwards and forwards because the pendulum is swinging, right? It goes backwards and forwards. If you can't catch the inner conversation right away, you can catch the behavior. If you can't catch the behavior or the inner conversation, you can catch the words that are coming out of your mouth. Do you hear it? So if you can catch the words, now you'll begin to change the inner conversation, thereby changing the behavior. All based upon that thing you want to create, that lifestyle that you want to create. Because that's what it is. It's not just a thing, it is accompanied by something. I trust that it makes sense for you this morning, because I know sometimes we can feel overwhelmed, right? Of course we can. So much going on. But if you use the law, well, here's the thing. If you feel overwhelmed, well, clearly that's a vibration, right? Because it's visceral, it's in your body. So if you want to use the law of vibration, you go, oh, my body feels so overwhelmed. Well, what are you thinking? What are you saying? What are you listening to that causes the body to feel overwhelmed? So if you find that you are listening to something, listen to something else. If you find that you're saying a particular thing, say something else. If you find that you are thinking along a particular vein of thought, change the thought. Because now the vibration will change. And you'll know that the vibration changes because your body will respond in kind. And just like Marjorie said, you just have to know that it's done. If you say, look, man, this this doesn't feel good. I want to feel this way. And as soon as you declare you want to feel that way, you've just polarized yourself in that direction. So it's obvious that you're going to change the feeling. And all you did was command it to change. You said, you know what? No, this is what I'm going to feel like. And you did it. And you did it on the fly. You know, like a really good car, you turn on a dime. That's what you do by implementing the law. And it just becomes a way of living now. But now you want to get to the point where your situations aren't causing you to bend. You're the one bending things as you move. You know, Pepe Le Pew. He walks by and all the flowers go limp, and you're like, ew, because Pepe Le Pew is a skunk, right? Um, so what you want to be able to do is whatever you are on the inside, wherever you walk by, you create the changes you go along. You don't have to search for inner peace. Create inner peace. And that's where and how you'll walk, and you'll spread it, you'll sprinkle it like confetti everywhere you go, just because it is who you are, your state. I trust it makes sense to you today. I trust it makes sense, because that's what we're talking about today. Your favorite law, and how using one of them uses them all at the same time. I trust it makes sense. I trust it makes sense to you today. Because from that place, when you recognize what you've done and what you're doing and how you're changing your surroundings simply because you're practicing, your whole state changes. You become more peaceful. And at the end of the day, that's all anybody wants, is peace of mind. Well, then allow the law. The law is peace. It is. The law is love. The law is joy. You know the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, kindness, patience, gentleness, and self control. Self control. Funny thing, that being the last one. Is it the last or is it the first? It's the base, it is the foundation upon which you build everything else. Self control. We think necessarily self control is you don't lose your temper, but self control means, what's that line in Patti LaBelle's song? Um, oh, MC, help me out. I'm in control. My worries are few. You're in control. In control of what? Yourself. Self control. You're ruling yourself. That's what you're doing on a daily basis. You're not allowing yourself to be pulled to and fro by the winds and the currents and the emotions and moods of other people and other things. Anyway, I'm not going to preach anymore. I always say that. You know, I trust I didn't miss anybody's comments or miss anybody being in the space. Tonight we are hitting the bull at 9:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to hit the bull right here on YouTube and Fanbase and Facebook. We're going to hit the bull. The crystal bowl. Indeed we are. There's just something about it. And to give you a taste of that, if you pop over to YouTube, because I'm going to close each room now except for YouTube, so that I can play it over there and you'll hear it. Because it just, I find it to be soothing, but the law of correspondence says, as above, so below. So if I'm hearing that bowl, you know that your body is responding, because it is law. The body's going to respond. Every cell in your body is going to respond to that vibration. And that changes you, changes your day. Right? It keeps things in perspective for you. And that is the beauty of the law. So you can pick your favorite one. But in actuality, there is only one. And I love it. So, Jeff, hey, Yoda Burger, Nanito, and Gek. Oh, it is always a pleasure to see you all here. And I know Cuddles is part of the replay gang. So I know I'll see her around. I should slide into her DMs. I haven't talked to her in a couple weeks, but I know she's busy. Um, Thank you all for being here on Twitter. Yeah. And I'll see you around. Much love to you, Twitter. Twitter is closed. Fan base. My melanin coat. KZ, Miss McQueen, Summer Rose, Oracle Treehouse, Flo Smiles, Yolanda, Zola. Thank you all for being here on this lovely Tuesday morning. A little bit of chill in the air. But you've noticed now that yang, or as they say in the West, yang, yang is moving into yin. Yang is moving into yin. You know, the symbol, the symbol, the Chinese symbol is actually sacred geometry. When you feel the temperature change, you've moved from most yang, which is summer, and we're going into yin. Yin is dark. Look at outside, the days are shorter, and it is colder, right? You see, the law of rhythm is at work. It is predictable. You begin to feel it in the air. I can feel it coming in the yeah, you know. You know how it is. But that's what's happening. If you watch it, you'll see the rhythm is changing. And so the body, if you allow it, it will follow that rhythm as well. You'll go to bed a little earlier, just a little, right? You'll drink more water because we're right. See? So much happens in that rhythm change. It is a beautiful thing. Anywho, I'll see you all, fan base. I am going to go and hit the bowl so that you guys can get on with your day. I love you, and I'll see you soon. Fan base is closed. Let me see. Did I miss any DMs? Okay, good. I'm good. There you go. Whoo! You guys are here. Let me read this to you. Every living thing, therefore, is immortal because of the mind, but especially man, who both receiveth God and converseth with him. Wow, this is because when I closed that fan base room, I was actually reading this morning before I got online. And so I just saw, as soon as I closed it, I saw this pop up, and I'm like, oh, wow. And I just mentioned rhythm. And by all things doth he foretell him of things to come, by birds, by fowls, by the spirit, or wind, and by an oak. Wherefore also man professeth to know things that have been, things that are present, and things to come. Consider this also, O son, that every other living creature goeth upon one part of the world, swimming things in the water, land whites upon the earth, flying fowls in the air. But man useth all these, the earth, the water, the air, and the fire. Nay, he seeth and toucheth heaven by his senses. Ooh, what am I reading? The divine commander. Thoth is speaking to Asclepius and his son. It is a beautiful thing, my friends. Let me get the bowl. Oh, I love you too, Queen Marat. And say hello to the girls. Yes. Zola's here. MC telling me to preach. Listen to you. You trying to get me in trouble. My poor son. Like seriously. You guys get it for an hour and some every morning, 24/7. I wonder if he's mastered the art of zoning out yet.
but the subconscious is always on. So he might zone out consciously, but he always learns anyway. Anywho, let me get the bowl. Ah, oops, here it is.